Welcome, everybody. This is Robin Vogel and Cindy Santa Anna, and I'm really excited to be here today. This is the 4 great things you can do to balance your hormones, reboot your libido, and I always add, and come back to love. So really, really happy to have you here, Cindy. I really appreciate you taking the time and spending this half an hour with us today.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Yeah, I know you have lots to share on this very, very important topic, actually. And as I was saying, the people that are joining us today, and some that are here live and some that will be listening later, are women who have been struggling with low or no, actually, libido for a long time. Many of them have been really wondering if, like, this is the life sentence, it's never going to change, and, like, this is it. And the truth is, a lot of people also hear that from their doctors, and their practitioners. I'm sorry to say, some of them just say, yeah, this is basically what it is now, age, menopause, all those things, and, that's it. So I am really happy to have you here to get some new and different information than that. And I'm glad that we're both really working on this with women. It feels like it's, to me, very, very important. So I wanted to start just by sharing with our listeners a little bit about you. I told them that you were my health coach for about a year, very recently, and that was a wonderful experience for me. Really, I actually didn't say this to you yet, but I still hear your voice in my head. There's moments of time where I'm like about to do something, or I'm thinking about what to make for dinner, and I hear like these sentences that you said to me. So.
Wow, that's really great to hear.
Yeah, it's true.
Yay.
So for those of you meeting Cindy for the first time, she is a nutritional therapist specializing in hormone balance and autoimmune disease. She's also trained in integrative health coaching and is a culinary nutrition expert. She leads cooking classes in Northern Virginia, yes, where she lives. And she's the author of a book that I have on my shelf right here, Unprocessed Living, 3 Easy Steps to Transition into Healthy Eating. She works at Gainesville Holistic Health, the Amen Clinics, and has her own, of course, private practice. I will send you the link to her website, but if you want to look it up while you're listening, unlockbetterhealth.com.
Yeah.
Unlockbetterhealth.com. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is such a vital topic, and I wanted to share that I've actually gone through periods of time in my life where I had extremely low libido. So I know exactly how it feels, and I know how frustrating it can be for women, and how frustrating it can be for their partners too. So yeah, let's dive in and talk about it. So we're going to talk about 4 foundational things that we need to work on today. And I'm going to look around a little bit because I have like 3 things of notes. So I just want to make sure I cover everything and I don't forget it. So the first thing that we want to address is obviously diet, because our hormones are based on the endocrine system, which is basically a huge, beautiful orchestra of hormones that all have to play together nicely. And if you have a crazy string section over here playing some heavy metal, then the rest of the hormones in the orchestra don't really, they're like, what's happening here? I can't figure it out. So they're off doing their own thing. And then that's where we run into trouble. So basically, we want all of our hormones to play well and integrate together. And that starts with the foundations, and that's a very good nutrient-dense whole food diet, managing our blood sugar, managing our stress response, not just managing stress, but the way our body responds to stress, which is very different. And then our gut health. Our gut health plays a huge role in hormone balance, and most people don't know that, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. So hopefully I can get through all of this really quickly in 30 minutes. And if I mention something, Robin, that you're like, wait a minute, people don't really know what that means, just stop me and say, hey, what are you talking about?
I will.
Okay. So basically, foundationally, the diet. We want to make sure that our food are nutrient dense. They're whole foods. You can't be eating at fast food restaurants and scarfing down burgers and fries and sodas and Red Bulls and hope that you have a good, healthy body. So that means pastured meats and eggs if you eat meat from a grass-fed farm. That is different from cage-free and organic. Pasture-raised means the animals are eating their natural diet. They're on grass. The chickens were eating bugs and grass. The fatty acid profile of the animal changes so much when the animals are eating their natural diet. It's a much healthier diet for the animal. And then the products that they produce for us to eat are much healthier in response. So for example, a grocery store egg, a USDA egg, will have about roughly 493 milligrams of cholesterol. It'll have low levels of folate and low levels of choline. Now a pasture-raised egg is going to have half that, about 203 to 250 milligrams of cholesterol, higher amounts of folate and higher amounts of choline, which is a nutrient for the brain. So that's a huge difference. And eggs have been demonized in the media lately by saying that they're not healthy. But I think that they're looking at a typical grocery store egg and not a pasture-raised healthy egg. So if you do in fact eat meat or eggs, it has to be grass-fed or pasture-raised. Those two words are what you need to look for. Then a plant-based, heavily plant-based diet is really great. I don't think that we eat enough vegetables as a society. I mean, obviously a vegan or a vegetarian is going to have a heavier plant-based diet, but it could also be heavier in grains, lentils and legumes, which for some people doesn't manifest very well and can be very high in carbohydrates. So we're going to get to that in a minute. And then also it's really important to make sure that you're consuming enough phytonutrients from all the vegetables, that you're not married to one group of vegetables. A lot of people say, I eat a lot of broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. All of those fall under the brassica family. So they're basically one type of nutrient for that whole group of vegetables. So we need to broaden our horizon and think artichokes and asparagus and leafy greens, Swiss chard, arugula, dandelion, kale, collards. That would mean that you have a really broad-based plant-based diet. Beets, carrots, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, include all of those in there. They're not to be demonized because they're high in sugar. We must eat those foods. If you want to demonize a food, which I really don't like to do, but anything that is a simple carbohydrate, bread, cereal, pastas, cookies, crackers, bagels, muffins, croissants, those don't really have any nutrients in them unless you're making a muffin with some, high dense ancient grains and high, protein powder. That's different. But a simple white flour object, food, PHOOD, is not going to serve your body, and it's going to raise insulin levels and drive the blood sugar into the cells. Your liver is now full of all these triglycerides. So foundationally, a really healthy diet is key. Lots of water, really good filtered, clear water. And just a note, the refrigerator filter isn't going to cut it. That pretty much just removes sediment. You really need a good high quality filter that's going to remove all the contaminants and fluoride, hexavalent chromium, trihalomethanes, the chlorine. So I actually have a whole house water filter, and I have a reverse osmosis filter underneath my kitchen sink for my drinking water. And I drink out of glass or stainless steel if I'm on the road, and I fill it up several times a day because water transports hormones through the bloodstream. And if we're dehydrated, then the hormones aren't getting to the places where they need to go. So water is crucial. But it's important that it's filtered and clear of all those contaminants, because if we're drinking something that contains some of those contaminants, then we have xenoestrogens, we have foreign chemicals and constituents that are in our bodies, and then our hormones can't do their jobs. Makes sense, right? So foundationally, a really good, healthy, nutrient-dense diet is very important. And maybe it's a little 70% plant-based and 30% meat and eggs if you eat them. The next topic is blood sugar. So I had a client come to me with her food journal, and she was writing down everything that she was eating. She goes, I don't really need to keep a food journal, Cindy, because I eat super healthy. Like I have smoothies and salads and healthy dinner. And I was like, well, let's just do it for 4 days and let's tally up everything and see, just to make sure, because you're having a lot of symptoms here and I just want to check. So after she sent me her food journal, I was scratching my head thinking, wow, this is, I plugged in all the numbers into MyFitnessPal and I said, this is really high in sugar. So I called her up and I said, I just want to clarify, let's look at your smoothie and let's talk about amounts. Like, tell me about a handful of blueberries and the pineapple and the dates that you're putting in. And let's talk about the salad dressing. And let's talk about your spaghetti sauce on your zucchini noodles, which is, it is a great, diet. It was healthy. But when you look at all of the added and hidden sugar and even the fructose, it was about 85 grams of sugar in a day, which is a lot. It's 3 times as much as you should be getting. About 25 grams of sugar is the max. So it's really important to truly investigate your food, read those food labels, flip everything around and look at it and say, okay, this has some hidden sugars. Read the ingredients and really find out what you're eating. So blood sugar. So when we eat something that contains sugar, or even if it's fructose, sugars that's in fruit, it's really important that you consider what you're eating with it. So fruit is, for example, is something that can be eaten on its own. Low glycemic berries are best, green apples. If you're consuming tropical fruits and things like that, you want to eat those on the small amount. We have to consider that what we have available to us today in supermarkets, we've got watermelon and cantaloupe and pineapples and papaya and guava in the middle of December in Northern Virginia. That's not my natural diet. We need to be eating seasonal fruits, and ebb with the season. So right now, berries are coming into season. And then in the summer, we have the water dense, we have the cucumbers, we have the watermelon, we have the melons. And in the fall, we have apples and pears. And then in the winter, some citrus and pomegranate. So you can see there's this natural ebb and flow with our fruits and with our seasons. And we should be eating that way. And just because it's plentiful and in the markets doesn't mean that we should be eating as much as we're eating. About 1 cup a day of fruit is the max. So that would be like a medium-sized apple and maybe a handful of blueberries. Okay? So blood sugar. I'm seeing your notes now. Okay, good. Yep, that's good. Take some notes on the way. So another thing to consider is if someone is insulin resistant, which means, the pancreas produces the insulin to take the blood sugar out of the bloodstream and put it into cells. So the cell decides this lock and key mechanism is done. It is worn out. You have worn it out by shoving sugar for your entire life. So that little mechanism that drives the sugar into the cells is now a little worn out. Now you might have high blood sugar. So when you go and get a blood test, you have high glucose, or your A1C, hemoglobin A1C, which is a marker of your blood sugar over a period of 3 months, is going to be higher. So you want to make sure that you are supporting your pancreas, that you aren't eating a diet that's high in fructose and carbohydrates and grains and things like that can drive those insulin levels. So I'm just going to kind of quickly, go over that because I really want to get to some meaty stuff. So make sure that you're managing your blood sugar and that you keep those sugar amounts very low, 25 grams of sugar a day and below. And it takes a while to get there. And you might feel kind of cruddy at first as you start to, cut it out and taper it down because your body's used to that. You may get a little cranky. So stick with it, drink lots of water, healthy fats, which are olives, nuts, and seeds. Sunflower seeds are amazing to give you energy. And ghee, which is clarified butter to cook with, and coconut oil, olive oil, really good high quality. Spend your money on really good high quality fats. Pasture-raised lard is actually a fantastic source of monounsaturated fats. Great to cook with, good high heat cooking oil. So the next topic I want to discuss really briefly is stress and the body's response to that. So we all have stress. It could be internal stress. It could be a food intolerance or a sensitivity that our body, maybe you're not aware of. Maybe there's a symptom that you have and you haven't tied it to that food sensitivity. It could be external stressors. It could be traffic. It could be a relationship. It could be your work environment. It could be the people that you interact with. It could be your teenage kids who are home on spring break. You know, it's I love them. It's stress. So we can't necessarily get away from it, but we can control how we respond to that. And that is a tool that needs to be worked on. It's not something you can just say, and get over it. You really need to hone in on that tool, the body's response. So if something were to happen, my favorite tool is the 4-7-8 breathing exercise, which is just an inhale for 4 counts. You hold it for 7 counts, and then you exhale with the tongue right behind your mouth. And really get it out. And that gets you into that parasympathetic state. So, and another thing about the parasympathetic state that I want to mention is that, and we have parasympathetic and we have sympathetic. Sympathetic is that fight or flight, go, 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 type A, brrr, all day long. Parasympathetic mode is rest and digest. And this is where we detox. This is where we digest our food, and this is how we sleep. And if we cannot get into that parasympathetic state, especially when it's time to go to bed, the body doesn't detox. The body doesn't get that restful sleep. The brain doesn't get rid of its garbage at night, and we stay in that heightened sense of awareness. And so I know a lot of you are thinking, but I'm having hot flashes and I'm having night sweats and I can't sleep. So we'll get to that, I promise. So how you respond to stress is really important. So when you feel that, and that it comes at you, that's when it's time to just sit back, ground yourself, do the 4-7-8 breathing exercise, and relax. Some of my favorite tools, supplements, and foods for stress response is, I don't know if you can see this, Holy Basil by Organic India. And they also make lovely teas, this is another one of my favorites, Tulsi, their teas. So the base of all of them is Holy Basil, which is a great adaptogenic herb. And then another one that's another adaptogenic herb is maca powder. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, we talk all about maca in my program. Favorite.
Yeah. So exactly. Now, here's what you need to know about maca. It is probably the most powerful libido building tool that you can have. But here's some caveats. It needs to be gelatinized, which is sort of pre-cooked. So you need to find a really good high quality version of maca. It comes in powders. It comes in tinctures, so you can do a little drop under the tongue. It comes in capsules, so you can swallow. Feminescence, maca pause, which is great for menopause, and maca harmony and maca life are some supplements. If somebody is interested in getting some of the supplements, I have a full script dispensary, and I can shoot them out an email. So if somebody's interested, you can hop on my website at unlockbetterhealth.com. You can sign up for full script, and you can have access to all of these really great pharmaceutical grade supplements. So I really love the Feminescence for the maca. And I usually will put the powder in like a tea or an elixir. And sometimes, I'll take the tincture. So, but here's the caveat. You cannot just hop on maca and stay on it. You have to cycle on and off. Maybe you try 5 days on and take a week off. Maybe you do 3 days on and take a few days off. It's not something that you take every single day. The body gets used to it, like melatonin. Melatonin is it's our sleepy time hormone. A lot of people take melatonin because they think they need that to fall asleep, when in fact you can raise melatonin levels very naturally by dimming the lights in your house and getting rid of blue light, or wearing blue light blockers if you have to be on your computer. No TV, laptops, computers, and cell phones and things like that an hour before bedtime. And then your melatonin can naturally rise. Melatonin is not something that you take all the time either if you need it to help you fall asleep. So just like that, maca needs to be cycled on and off. It's also not super great to take for a long period of time if you have thyroid disease. So it's something that I, cycle in and out of. And I have to tell you a quick funny story. When I first started on maca years ago in my journey, I was in my first nutrition school, and one of the instructors was talking about maca, and I was like, oh, I was just putting a tablespoon a day in my smoothie and just going to town, and I was drinking them up every day. And then all of a sudden I was like, honey, what time are you getting home? Hi, honey. I was like a rabid animal. So when your hormones are imbalanced, maca can really work for you, but 1 teaspoon a day of the powder. And then if you're taking it in a tincture or another form, you have to follow the directions and cycle on and off, as I mentioned. So love maca for that. Last foundational item I wanted to talk about briefly was the gut. The gut health is really important. Our gut flora in our tummy, we have 700 trillion internal pets, and we must feed them. They want food. They love fiber, and they love fermented foods that are high in natural bacteria, so we must feed our pets really good quality food. Now, you can have perfect and great hormone levels, but if you have toxins, or if you come into contact with xenoestrogens, your receptors in your intestines, so we have all these estrogen receptors in our gut, and they can be basically like a dirty window, these receptors. So if you come into contact with xenoestrogens, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, GMOs, glyphosate, then your receptor is like a dirty window, and it can't make the contact. So the fiber, the psyllium, the fermented foods gets in there and says, it's nice and clean now, it's all shiny. You can see the receptor and things start working. So we need to make sure that we feed our pets, the internal ones, really good probiotic. And it's important that you not be married to one type of probiotic either. You need to mix it up, because we have to have all these different strains. I mean, there's hundreds and probably thousands of strains that we haven't even discovered yet in our gut. It's such a new area of science. So it's really important to find maybe 2 or 3 different probiotics that you like that work for you, or maybe even, I had it here earlier. I love doing a Genova Diagnostics stool panel on my clients now. I have lovely tools that I can use now as a nutritional therapist. I can do a Dutch test, which can run a comprehensive hormones on your hormones and your adrenals through urine. And then we can also do a stool panel to see how your gut receptors are, and how much gut flora you have, and if you have enough diversity, or if you have a pathogen, if you have worms or protozoa, etc. It's really, really important data to know. So those are really 2 great tools. The Dutch test is invaluable. And if you're on hormones, or if you are experiencing the hot flashes and night sweats and insomnia and insulin resistance, weight loss resistance, fatigue, forgetfulness, brain fog, all this fun stuff that comes with menopause and perimenopause, then you might want to consider taking a Dutch test. I can get a discount for my clients for $2.99 is the Dutch test. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover it. But the invaluable tool that comes from this is that when you do a blood test, you can see what your hormone levels are. But when you do a urine comprehensive hormone test, it looks at the liver and how the liver is metabolizing those hormones. And it looks at those metabolites, and it says, is it going down a good pathway? Do we have too much dirty estrogen? Do we have enough of the bone building estrogen? So there's several different types, and it tells us what those levels are. It looks at your progesterone, your testosterone, your DHEA. It looks at your adrenal hormones. And mine was like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when I did mine last year. And I was like, yeah, I'm 49, I'm on the road to 50, and it's all crazy. So, there's things that you need to do. There's, fine tuning your sleep. Be super protective of your sleep. It's 10 o'clock, it's my bedtime. Lights are off, and I'm at 9 o'clock, I'm practicing my slow down routine. Acupuncture is really great for low estrogen. I love valerian tea in the evenings to kind of, calm down and get the body into that parasympathetic state. For people who experience hot flashes and night sweats, a couple of things that I love are vitamin E at about 50 to 400 IUs a day. Magnesium glycinate at 400 milligrams at night. It's great to take at bedtime because it just relaxes the body. It's a nice relaxing mineral. The maca, as I mentioned, rhubarb. You'll see rhubarb in a lot of menopausal type supplements, and black cohosh is another that you'll see. About 40 to 80 milligrams of that a day is sufficient. So we need to make sure that we have all these minerals and vitamins and phytonutrients in place to make sure that we're building the good hormones. Boron, zinc, magnesium, the B vitamins, vitamin D and E are also essential, and they're also needed to make estrogen. Turmeric is really great for inflammation, so I just add a really good high quality turmeric to a lot of my foods, my eggs, my soups, my stews, ground beef, my turkey burgers. Everything comes out orange in my kitchen. It's really good. Healthy fats. Healthy fats build hormones. So for example, our sex hormones are made from cholesterol. If you are on a statin, you are not building good hormones. Statins work in the liver, and they stop the liver from producing cholesterol, which starves the brain of its fuel, which starves the body of its hormone producing constituent. Every hormone comes from cholesterol, sex hormone. So I'm not a doctor, and I can't tell you to not take a statin or to get off your medication, but it's something that I would investigate and work with your doctor and say, maybe perhaps I don't want to do that. I want to try diet. I want to try lifestyle, exercise, maybe some natural supplements to lower it. I've gotten dozens and dozens of clients off of their statins, and they're so much healthier because of it. There's risks that aren't really discussed. There's no study that looks at its safety for long-term use, and the clients are coming to me on them for 10, 15, 20 years. They cause neuropathy, small vessel capillary disease, and most notably dementia and Alzheimer's. And I do work at the Amen Clinic, which is a brain health clinic, and it's really sad to me that so many people come into there with being on a statin for 10 to 20 years, and they have dementia. Their brains just need the fat. They're being starved of the fat. So don't be afraid of fat. Eat your healthy fats, but not too much. Obviously, we want to keep that in context, but it should be a natural part of your diet. Avocados and nuts and seeds, these are healthy foods. Sesame seeds, eat a little bit of quinoa, some fermented soy only. And I want to put a caveat there. I don't necessarily agree with those who have thyroid issues to consume soy, but it should be fermented like tamari or miso, tempeh. But no soy milks, soy protein isolates in your protein powders. Those can cause problems. The phytoestrogens in there can mimic and block estrogen in the body. So the soy should be fermented only. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Flaxseed does also have phytoestrogens, but it's a different mechanism by which it works. So flaxseed can actually be somewhat beneficial if you want to try that versus the soy. And then of course, all of your soy should be organic, because then it could possibly be a genetically modified ingredient. Another is caffeine. So I don't have a problem if you want to have a cup of coffee a day, but stop it there and make sure there's no powdered coffee grossness. You're not putting lots of sugar in it. So, a nice plant-based milk or something like that. Or even if you drink dairy, half and half organic. But it really needs to stop there, because that can interfere with vitamin D. It can actually lower vitamin D levels. And I see that a lot. Vitamin D is really more of a hormone than it is a vitamin. And I see that a lot with women in this age range. Their vitamin D levels are really low. So we need to focus on that by getting sunlight Get outside. Yes, you can take a supplement. You can take a D3 with some K1 or K2 to make sure that it's bioavailable. But it's really important to get outside every day and get that sunlight. Even on a cloudy day, you can still get some sunlight. But get out there and let it soak into your face with no sunscreen. Okay, so that's really important. Okay, how are we on time? Oh, it's 30 minutes up. Okay, so I hope I got to most everything. I'd love to open it up for your questions, Robin, or anybody else, if there's any questions specifically that anybody has or that you have, something I didn't cover.
First of all, you're amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you covered an amazing amount of material in a short amount of time, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much. You know, one thing that I don't think about so much is gut health related to estrogen and the way the body processes hormones.
Yeah, you know, one other note with that, So as we age, a lot of women who come to me have constipation issues. And I've got to say that if you're not moving your bowels every day, if not once, twice a day, that's not normal. So you have to make sure that you're going at least once or twice a day. So if you're not, we have to seriously focus on that. And the reason is because the liver, like I mentioned earlier, conjugates and breaks down the old estrogen, and it sends it into the bile, and then we excrete it right through our bowel movements. So if it's staying in the bowels and you're not pooping every day, then it's going to get reabsorbed. So you've got dirty, conjugated old estrogen recirculating. That's very dangerous, and that's what leads to a lot of these reproductive cancers. So pooping is essential. You have to make sure you're moving your bowels every day, and really normal is once or twice. Twice would be like great. If it's any more than that, 4 or 5 times a day, then we got to, look at, bulking up the stool and adding some fiber and those kind of things. But psyllium is great. If you're super constipated, a tablespoon of coconut oil a day, just lubricate the tube and get things going. And of course, water. A lot of us are super hydrated. There you go.
There's a question in the chat, actually, while we're on the subject of pooping, that Brenda asked about colonics. Any thoughts on colonics?
So I personally have not had one done. I have had a handful of clients come to me and have mentioned that they've had after effects of them, like things not being right structurally or functionally afterwards. But I know that they can be, somewhat of a healthy product or process. But I think I would maybe just try maybe a cleanse, like something, maybe a fast for 24 hours with some bone broth or restorative mineral broth and some waters and herbal teas and things like that. Obviously, if you're super backed up, and you really need some help, maybe that can. It's not something that I've recommended to my clients, just because it can be so harsh. It pulls everything out, including your good gut flora. So then you have to work on repopulating again, and I just don't know that I would do that. I would think that I would focus on liver cleansing and liver health, which can build great hormones. So liver cleansing is great, and that's beets and apple cider vinegar and lemon juice and watercress and dandelions, all the bitter foods. But beets and the liver, they love each other. So love up your liver, because your liver is really what's processing all these old hormones and things like that. So liver health is very important with managing your hormones as well. Good question.
Yeah, thanks. While we're talking about our livers, I'm sure you've caught all the rage around celery juice. Anything you want to say about that?
Sure. So there's actually no real data, peer-reviewed data, that shows that it's beneficial. Obviously, celery is a healthy food. It's nutrient dense. It's low in calories, so it should be a part of our diet. But I don't think that we should be going crazy and bananas for juicing it. Add it maybe to your juice with some beets and some greens, and maybe a little pinch of ginger and some lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a few people remark about how it has them run into the toilet.
Absolutely does.
So maybe if that's a goal,
Yeah.
but there's not a whole lot of true data that shows how really beneficial it is to be juicing that one particular food. So, and it can throw off your electrolyte balance too by juicing that much. So
right.
I would have a collection of vegetables for juicing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Just going to put out to those that are listening in, any questions that you guys have, you can unmute yourself or you can type in the chat box. But I think I see somebody on their cell phone, which would be hard to type in the chat box. But anyway, just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, so I would love to answer anybody's questions. They want to reach out to me if they don't, feel comfortable doing it live, and if they're having issues with their hormones, work with a practitioner who's knowledgeable. I see clients all over the United States, virtually and in person here in Northern Virginia, and I have some fun cooking classes that I do once a month locally, teaching people how to use food as medicine, and that's really important. And then my book, of course, is Unprocessed Living, which is on Amazon. That's really for the beginner, like somebody who's really starting out and not really sure how to clean up their food and whatnot. So that would be a good place to start if you're a beginner. And if you really want to work on your hormones, I would say, do a Dutch test. Reach out. Let's get it done. Look at it and see where your hormones are. It's good information.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that's really good to know about that test.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, it is like becoming the gold standard now with hormones. And it's just, and for me, I was just blown away by it. I was actually estrogen dominant. And that happens as you're entering that perimenopausal stage. And so, I'm working on bringing that down and boosting my progesterone, so and there's lots of things that you can do food wise to work on that, and a little bit of this and a little bit of this.
Yes. That's great. Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate you taking your time today. It's such a pleasure. So good to reconnect with you and see you again.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. It's really, really powerful and really useful.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Good. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a great day, everybody.